So this video is going to be a little bit of a talk on how I lost 30 pounds in less than 6 months. And I'm going to do my morning weigh-in right now. We're going to find out what the weight is. I just checked it a minute ago, so there we are. Started out at 180. And now that we see the weigh-in, I'm going to do a little bit of talking about how I did this. This is going to be a video on how I lost 30 pounds in less than 6 months. Now, I'm going to start off right up front saying I know I'm not famous, I'm not a verified account, so if I was, this video would go viral overnight and have 50,000 views in a week, and I would be famous. But because I'm a nobody, it's not going to be seen by YouTube. So it's going to be seen by a few people, and that's all that really matters. This is the tracking app for a scale that I've got. I did a review on it. It's an Eros scale. It's a digital scale. And this, along with changing my eating habits, is what got me to lose 30 pounds. So sorry, you're not going to have great lighting. You're not going to have cool graphics. You're not going to have lots of audio saying smash that notification and none of that. This is just, if somebody sees this and it helps you, hopefully this video will go crazy and people will see it. So, I went to the doctor and they didn't like my blood results. They did not like the numbers at all. And what you find out when you go to the doctor, and what you find out, what a lot of us find out and we just ignore, is they look at your numbers and they say, your numbers are a little too high for the cholesterol. Now in the US, most of us are about 200 on average, probably a lot more. I've always been about 190 to 200, and this time, because I was eating a lot of junk, I was eating lots of Mexican food and burritos and tacos, tons of ice cream, lots of watermelon. I gave up on the soda a couple years ago when they said they didn't like my blood sugar numbers. I just walked away from soda overnight. Very easy to do for all you people that say you're addicted to soda. It is so simple to walk away, especially when you start thinking, do I want to put a needle in my body for the rest of my life 2 or 3 times a day? And do I want to have neuropathy and maybe lose my feet or my toes or my legs, or have... It's an eye-opener. A lot of people just ignore it. A majority of people ignore this stuff. Just like when there's heart surgery, when they go in and they do a heart surgery bypass, and the doctor says, you better change your diet. Most people who have that heart bypass surgery don't lose weight because they don't change their diet, and they go on medication, and it ends up taking them out in the end. Same thing for the big thing for doctors. They want to put you on high blood pressure medication. They say you'll live longer. Even if you're healthy, you'll live longer. Maybe so, but a lot of people that are on high blood pressure medication are overweight, and they have rotten diets. They have the American diet. So my doc did not like my numbers. Sorry, this is just going to be the video. This is what you're going to see. It's mostly a talking video right now. They didn't like my numbers, and then the other thing, when you start getting, it doesn't matter your age, but it does. When you start getting past a certain point, then they start saying your risk of having a heart attack or a stroke goes up every year for the rest of your life until you're gone, obviously. So, and it's all calculated out. Not that it's going to happen if you go on blood pressure medication or cholesterol medication, the stuff that all doctors love to push. Let me talk about that for a minute. I'm not a doctor, so these are just my thoughts. But if you look at the statistics, if you look at the studies for the cholesterol medication, you will find that the majority of people, these are in the studies, these are the numbers, a majority of people that take the cholesterol medication have almost the same results and life expectancy as the people that don't take the cholesterol medication. And my doctor, one of my doctors put me on cholesterol meds. I took it for about a day. My feet were kicking all over the place at night, and I went, I'm not taking this junk for the rest of my life. I'll change what I'm eating. Sorry, got to reboot. So, they didn't like my cholesterol numbers, and I don't blame them. They were higher than they should be. and my blood pressure was definitely up there, not excessive, but when I go to the doctor, my blood pressure always skyrockets. They know, they take it over and over and over, and then finally they get a number. But I'll be honest, the number was, it should have been lower. It definitely should have been lower. The pulse, when I go in a doctor, I've got that white coat syndrome, like a lot of us, and I just flip out before I get in the office, and I fidget, and I panic, and the doctor knows about it, so, but my numbers were up there. They did not like my numbers. So it came down to, what are you going to do with your life? Are you going to kill yourself eating the garbage, or are you going to straighten out? So, and one of my doctors gave me a very serious warning saying, you better do this or. And most people will hear that from a doctor and say, that's okay, I'm going to keep eating cake and ice cream. And I didn't do that. I kind of panicked and got really scared and said, I've got a good life. I got everything going for me. I'm well taken care of for the rest of my life, and I do not want to throw that down the drain by eating all this garbage, and I don't want to end up in the hospital with a heart attack or in an ambulance or IV needles or cancer treatments or strokes. So overnight, I went home. I opened up my freezer, and I threw out all the meat in the freezer. I threw out probably like 30, 40 pounds, just stuff that I had bought, frozen chicken, chicken breast, chicken tenderloins, pork pieces, ground pork. That's normally what I ate. I pretty much gave up on ground beef, except when I was having hamburgers at for takeout. And years and years ago, I completely gave up on the fast food stuff. I just walked away from it because I knew it was dangerous and bad for the body. So I had that going for me, but still I was overweight, and I was going to the markets and getting the tacos and burritos and going to the Mexican restaurant and getting the 8-pound taco and eating that in 2 days. And it was just not good. I was living life, but it was not good. So I went home, I threw all that meat out, all of it, just scared out of my mind, petrified out of my mind. And the next day I was at the market, and I said, where's your vegan stuff? The doctor told me to go on a plant-based diet. The difference between plant-based, if I have this right, and vegan, plant-based is mostly, vegan is plant-based, except plant-based you can occasionally have some chicken, and you can have some meat, and you can have the ice cream, you can have all that stuff. You can have the dairy, but you shouldn't. So it's in moderation. You mostly eat a plant-based diet, but if you have a little bit of ice cream, if you have dairy, if you have eggs, if you have meat, if you have seafood, it's not the end of the world, but it's in big moderation. Vegan means you don't eat eggs or meat or dairy or seafood. You just walk away from it. And I did that overnight. I definitely did it overnight. Was it hard to do? Absolutely not. I'm a guy, and us guys have a prostate, and healthy heart, healthy prostate. Some people call it a prostrate. It's a prostate. Healthy heart, healthy prostate. If your heart is healthy, if you're eating a healthy diet for your heart, you're going to have a healthy prostate. You hopefully will not end up with prostate cancer like a majority of men do, and hopefully you won't end up with heart attacks or strokes or any of that other stuff. So overnight, I walked away from the whole stuff. And I will say that I started this in February. In December of last year, I was at my highest weight ever. So I was at my highest weight ever, and which I always have done, always around Thanksgiving, eat the Thanksgiving turkey, eat a bunch of candy, a bunch of garbage, and then at the beginning of the year you go, yikes, what did I do? Well, that's kind of what I did. I was at my highest weight, and you don't see that on this chart over here, but in December I was at my highest, and I think I got the scale somewhere, I got it in December of 2019? I don't know. I don't know. But around February is when I got serious about this thing. I believe I was 180 some pounds then. In December, I started at about 174 when I started going vegan. This morning, as you saw that little picture of the scale, I hit 150.0. How did I do it? I will tell you right now, I am probably 99.9% vegan. When I've gone over to my mom's house and she had a chicken salad, I took a bite of the chicken salad. I didn't sit down and eat it. I took a bite of it. I have 100% walked away from eggs. As far as eggs, everybody says it's a healthy food. If you're a man and you have prostate cancer and you continue eating 3 eggs a week, you will probably die of prostate cancer. Eggs are not good for the body. And a lot of people have been pushing eggs for a long time. Eggs are not good for the body, especially a man. Consider that. The studies, not that they're 100% guaranteed, but the studies show that if you have prostate cancer and you have eggs 3 times a week, your prostate cancer will probably become fatal. Is it related to the eggs only? No one really knows for sure, but the numbers show that that has a big effect. Healthy heart, healthy prostate. As far as blood pressure, my blood pressure, I took it a couple times and I was really shocked. I was very shocked. And the other times I took it and I went, well, it's kind of up where it normally is. But some of my blood pressure readings, the bottom number was in the 70s, and I was like I took it one time, I think it was 118 over 60 something, and I went, are you kidding? Are you kidding? Years ago, I used to go into the doctor, and I would panic so much that it would be up around 160 over 90 or 100 and something, and they would check it a few times, and it would drop down to 130 over 90. So it was just, I was a nervous wreck. Normally, when I would go into the doctor and they would take it, they'd start off at, once I learned how to calm down, it would be 140 over 90, 140 over 80, and they take it and then it would drop to 120 over 80, 120 over 70. So I can't say I've done a reading in a few months because I haven't, but I know the blood pressure went down. My pulse, when I get worked up over something, like if I'm sick and I'm scared and I'm nervous, my pulse will go way up into the 90s. My pulse used to be in the 90s. A lot of time I take my pulse and it's in the 60s, which just shocks me. It's in the 60s or 70s. Not a lot of people have their pulse in the 60s and 70s. So my pulse rate has gone way, way down. I know my blood pressure went down. My weight has gone down substantially. I haven't had a cholesterol test. I'm assuming it's gone down. There'd be no reason for it not to. I'll talk about diet in a minute. I want to show you the chart here just so we can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, today is July 27th. So this is showing for 1 year. And this scale made an enormous difference. Why? When I check my weight every day, and I check my weight every day, when I started off, and even before I started this, if I would check my weight once a week, I could put on 5 pounds in a week. Because I would just eat burritos and hot dogs, not hot dogs, sausage, pork, ground pork, hamburgers, go down to the big box store and take out food, pizza slices all the time. So you can see this is a year view. This is substantial, and you can see how it just goes down. How much exercise? I know you should be doing exercise every day. I was riding my bike every couple days until I started this thing, and I figured I better back off on the exercise for a while and focus on this, and that's what I've done. So we can see the weight went way down. So by checking this scale every day, I was able to say, am I doing good, am I doing bad? And I've got to tell you, the first 10 pounds or so just went away without a lot of effort. You just have to stick with eating the right way. I would go to bed with my stomach hurting, growling, lots of stomach pains. I would wake up with my stomach hurting. It's a whole different change in your diet. You also have to learn, when you're sitting there at night watching TV, you want to eat. You come home from someplace, you want to eat. You just constantly want to eat. And when you realize you don't have to eat because you're not hungry, but you just want to eat because you want to eat, you have to learn to say no. And how do you do that? By getting on the scale every day and saying, what did I do to mess it up? But when you're on a vegan diet, when I started off, I'll talk about that in a minute, not the easiest thing to transition to. Okay, so that is, let's go to the BMI. BMI, did we switch over to BMI? BMI. Now, when you go to the doctor, what they do with BMI is they take your weight and they put it with your height and they say your number is too high. Now, yeah, this number up there was way, way, way up there, way up there. And right now, you're looking at it somewhere around 24 point something. And the chart over there, it will tell you where you should be. It will, you'll look at that and you'll say, maybe I don't like those numbers. But 24 is still considered too high, and I don't have any flab on the belly. I have a tiny bit of flab. I can barely grab it between two fingers. I have no flab on the sides, no flab on under the rib cage, no flab at the back, no flab. You know that big bump that you have when you scan in a mirror? When you look at guys, look at women or men when they're walking out of the store and they got that big belly hanging out right underneath their breastbone. And everybody in this country has it, and it's nasty, and you see them from a profile, and they've got that big bump. That is visceral fat that is surrounding your heart, and your liver, and your lungs, and that's the stuff that will kill you. The fat under your skin is subcutaneous fat, and that is dangerous too. But the BMI, when you go to the doctor, if you stand on the scale and they say, oh, your BMI is too high, it could be, or maybe it isn't, because it's strictly looking at height and weight. And it's kind of deceptive. So right now the doctor would look at that and they'd say, okay, I like that number, it's 24, I wish it was a little lower, but I think when you get to 24.9 is when, 24.9 to 25, that's when they consider that you were overweight. So I am skinny, I'm not skinny, I've lost a lot of weight. And people look at me and they say, you're in good shape. Like I said, there's barely any flab to grab onto me except just a tiny fraction right below the belly button. And that puts me at 24 point, I think it's, what am I, 7 or 24 point something. I'll show you the chart for the day in a minute. But that is still considered too much. They want me to lose maybe another 10 pounds, which I'd be skinnier than I was in high school. Okay, so let's go back to the tracking. You get the next button over here. Body fat. That is where you see a huge difference. Look at that. Way, way up there over the year and drops all the way down. That's an incredible drop. And that's showing, I don't know what that's showing, that I'm about 20-something. I'll show you that in a minute. What is this one? I'm looking through the cameras. I'm doing this, so sorry about that. Fat-free body weight, that shows your body weight and how much, that's just your weight if you didn't have fat. It really doesn't look like that much of a drop. What's the next one? Oh, subcutaneous fat. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. I was up in the 20-somethings, and now I'm way, way, way down there. And still, like I said, that is considered too much. We'll look at the chart in a minute. If I didn't have the scale, and I know people are going to say you shouldn't weigh yourself all the time. Without the scale, I would have been lost. So we're looking at visceral body fat. That's the fat that surrounds your organs, and that number up there at the top will kill you. And look at how much it dropped, and look how it stayed there. I want to scroll over. Let's get to the next one. Body water. Sometimes, all of us are dehydrated. Anybody who goes in a hospital, the first thing they do is hook you up to an IV because we're all dehydrated. So body water, that has a big effect because if you don't have a lot of water in you, when you do this thing, your numbers are going to change a little bit because it's strictly based on calculations and resistance in the body, going to the scale. Skeletal muscle, if I was working out every day and hitting the weights, I'd have more muscle, and that's what they want you to have is more muscle. The more muscle weighs, what is it? Fat, 1 pound of fat weighs more, is that right? 1 pound of fat weighs more than 1 pound of muscle? Or is it the other way around? So if you have more muscle, then I think if you have more muscle, your weight might go up, but it will also help your numbers over here. So let's go down. We just have a few more of these to go, and then I'm going to talk to you. This is probably going to be a 30-minute video. Sorry. Muscle mass. You can see how it went way, way down. So the question is all this weight that I lost, is it all muscle mass? No, but a lot of people who lose weight lose muscle mass. You lose your weight, you lose the fat, but you also lose muscle mass unless you constantly work out. And I didn't want to overload myself. This was more than enough to do. The next step is going to be going to protein. I don't know what that's supposed to help me with. I don't really understand it. BMR, body basal metabolic rate, I think that's it. That is, let's try to zoom in. That's how many calories you should be eating per day. So you can see when I started out, my body needed about 1,621 calories just to be able to function, to do its bare minimum. And now it needs 1,540 calories just to function. So if you eat 1,540 calories a day, your body will be able to function and do what it needs to do. If you eat less, your body will not be able to function. If you eat more, you're going to gain weight. But if you eat less, you got to figure this out. You got to figure out where you can not eat all the calories that you need, but eat enough so that you can function and so you can burn the weight, and burn the fat. Or do a lot of working out so that you, where's that last button? All right, let's just, I want to show you one last thing. If I can shut this off. So this is the info for today, and you just get info. It's the exact same stuff I showed you before. Let me go into subcutaneous fat. That's the only number that they want me to work on. And you can see how it says my subcutaneous fat, that's the fat underneath the skin, they consider that too high, and I need to drop it down. I'm at 18, they want me to drop it down to 16.7. I don't know what that means. It means I've got to lose more weight. Let's go look at the, what do I want to show you? The visceral fat. Visceral fat. So I think before I was up in the high range, I never hit excessive. I was in the high range. And now I'm at acceptable. And I would like it to be good. I would like it to drop down to good, and that is what my goal is now. And that is going to require, let's do the skeletal muscle. See, it's showing that I've lost some muscle, and they want me to build up the muscle so that I can, more muscle, the weight might go up, but if the weight goes up, the body fat is going to go down, and the visceral fat is going to go down, and the subcutaneous fat is going to go down. So let me shut this off for a minute. Again, I know my video doesn't have all the cool graphics, and it's not edited well, and it doesn't have the lighting and all the stuff that's going to turn it into a viral video. But let me tell you how I started this thing. I went to the market after I got that info, and I asked them where their vegan stuff was. And I didn't really know what I was doing at the time. Like I said, there's protein. The doctor said go on a protein-based, a plant-based, not a protein-based. What am I talking about? Doctor said go on a plant-based diet, and all I did is I looked for frozen dinners that were plant-based until I finally found out that plant-based still includes eggs and dairy and meat and seafood. So, which he was okay with, but that's all in moderation. When I did my research on heart and blood pressure and prostate cancer and strokes, and you can do your own research. I spent weeks and weeks, hours a night doing research about what affects a man for prostate cancer, heart problems, and stroke. And no matter what you want to believe, if you do the research, you will find out it is a proven fact that the animal stuff that we eat is dangerous for our body. I'm not doing this, I'm not changing my diet because I'm a hippie person that believes in saving the earth and doesn't want to do the animal harm, and I want to save the cows. I love a nice cheeseburger and barbecued chicken and barbecued ribs. So I didn't do it for that reason. What I found out, as I said, a man who has prostate cancer that eats eggs 3 times a week will probably die of prostate cancer. It will elevate his numbers. Woman who, well, women don't have prostates, obviously. A person who eats the person who eats red meat, and I know there's a lot of people, a lot of keto people are going to say I'm wrong. They eat keto and they've lost a chunk of weight. It is factually proven that meat is toxic for the human body. It is toxic. It is not good for you. You might lose your weight and your numbers might go down and your heart might look good. If you are eating animal product, it is terrible for the body. And you just saw my numbers. I stopped the animal product and I stopped the eggs right away. And when you stop the eggs, you look at all your packages, and you say, I don't want eggs in this stuff. And which puts you into plant-based or vegan, mostly vegan, because plant-based, they can still eat eggs. And I used to put sugar on a lot of things. I just walked away from all of that. So I walked into the market and I said, where are your plant-based foods? Until I learned that I don't really want just plant-based, I want vegan. The stores make it very difficult to find what you're looking for. A lot of stores don't carry that, and eating vegan is extremely expensive. People who say it's not, it is. It is not cheap, especially if you don't know how to do it, and I didn't know how to do it. So there are, I'm not going to mention her name, but there's a brand of frozen foods, and it's interesting when you go on their website and you look at their frozen meals, they will list plant-based, and then you go click on the link for vegan, and what you'll see is all the plant-based foods that they sell are also the same foods that are under vegan. And when I called up and I said, why do you do that? Why not just let people know what you're doing, that all your plant-based foods are really vegan, so they don't have to get confused and look at two different charts and think they're buying only one type of food. Now, this company also sells gluten-free and GMO. The gluten-free is not plant-based usually, and the GMO-free is not vegan, and the low-calorie is not vegan. So you've got to be really careful what you're looking for. If it's plant-based, you're going to see plant-based on the package. If it is vegan, you might see another. I don't know if they put a V but they don't. It's not easy to find. Some markets carry a lot of this stuff. Some markets carry a little bit of it. I don't know where you live. I found that Ralph's, which is a smaller store, carries a lot more vegan products than Ralph's. When you go to the Ralph's market, they've got a big section of they have a section of frozen foods just like Vons. But when you're looking for vegan things like dressings or fake vegan cheese, or the vegan noodles, when you're looking for that, Ralph's doesn't really have, they have one little refrigerator section of that, whereas at Vons they have a huge area. It's always by the produce. If you never looked, you'll find it. It's always by the produce area. So you've got the produce area. If you're looking for vegan burritos, you'll find that next to the frozen burritos. If you're looking for vegan pizza, they do make it, but it's not cheap, and it's still loaded with a ton of calories and a ton of sodium. And then for the vegan frozen foods, you will find that in the frozen food section, obviously, and there are only a few companies that sell this stuff. You can buy vegan veggie patties, vegan chicken patties, vegan sausage patties, vegan, what else? What do they call that stuff? I don't even remember. A lot of vegan stuff, and then you go to another section of the freezer area, and you will find the frozen dinners, the vegan enchiladas with beans and rice, which is all vegan, the enchilada tofu souffle, which has tofu to look like eggs, and it's got broccoli and tomato sauce and potatoes. Potatoes are definitely vegan. You have to be careful with that also, because potatoes are lots of starch, and you can eat very poorly on vegan and not accomplish your weight loss. You might clear your arteries out, but you're not going to accomplish your weight loss. is vegan or non-dairy ice cream, and you need to be careful with that because it still has the massive amount of calories, and all they're using is coconut milk instead of dairy milk. And you've got and that's the other thing. Not only do you have the calories, but you've got the sodium. In all of these frozen meals, they are crawling with sodium. No different than a can of soup. A can of soup usually has 800 milligrams to 1,200 milligrams. A vegan TV, and they're really entrees. I wouldn't call them dinners. You just get a small thing. Fairly low in calories. They try to keep them around 500 calories. The sodium is always up about 600 milligrams or more. And another way that you can tell that it's vegan is when you look on the labels, you will always see 0 cholesterol. So, okay, so I've covered the frozen meals. And the problem for me is I don't like vegetables. I have never eaten cooked vegetables. I hate cooked vegetables. I can eat raw broccoli, raw spinach. I can put that in a Vitamix. I can do a smoothie. If you go the smoothie route, you're good, unless you start doing the smoothies with fruit, and then you're good, but you're getting such a massive amount of sugar that you might be taking in so much sugar that it could make you pre-diabetic, and it could keep the calories on because you're storing a massive amount of sugar. So when you do this, not only do you have to watch cholesterol, but you also have to try to watch your sodium. It's very hard to do with vegan. And you also have to watch the amount of sugar that you're taking in because all of this stuff is loaded. A lot of it could be loaded with sugar. But the cholesterol thing, that's the number that you really want to deal with. So I did the frozen dinners for about 3 or 4 months. Recently, what I started doing, I love Chinese food. We all love Chinese food. Most of us love Chinese food. And so I've been shopping at the area where the fake cheese is and the fake dressings and the tofu. And one day I bought this thing. I didn't know what it was. It was like a soup mix or something, or a Chinese, maybe it was a Chinese stir-fry thing. And I opened it up, and the only thing that was in there was a container of tofu and some seasoning. And I thought, okay, well, let me figure out how to do this. I diced it up. I threw it in a pan. I put the seasoning in there, and I ate it, and I went, it doesn't taste that bad because it really has no flavor. Tofu has no flavor. But the package, I didn't want to use the package because it's loaded with salt and sugar and all that junk that you want to avoid if you're trying to stay healthy. But once I did that, I said to myself, now I know how to deal with tofu. You just buy the package, you rinse it, you slice it, you put it in a pan, and you heat it up a little bit. And from there, I went to the next step. I saw some vegan noodles, which are right next to the vegan tofu. And you buy the noodles, which are usually in a soup package. You get either one package of noodles with a little seasoning packet for the soup, loaded with salt and sugar, or you can buy a package of 3 things of noodles and 3 packets of seasoning. So what I did is I took the packet and I threw out the seasoning and I put the noodles in a pan and I went, okay, so I've got the noodles and I've got the tofu. And then one day I thought about it and I did some research online for chow mein and chop suey. And so the thing I'm doing now, and let me tell you, this is why Asian people, maybe not in the U.S., but the Asian people live on rice. In Asian countries, they live on rice. But they are normally extremely healthy with low heart problems, low blood sugar, low blood pressure, even though they're eating tons of sugar. Why? Because they eat lots of vegetables and they have a good diet. That is the whole thing. And they don't eat the junk. Now I know with the new generations, a lot of the people that are Asian are overweight, just like everybody else, and they're eating a bunch of garbage. But when you go to the Asian countries, they eat fairly healthy. So that's what I'm doing now. I buy a thing of tofu, I slice it up, put it in the pan. I don't deep fry. I've never deep fried anything. But what I found out is when you put butter spray in a pan to make tofu, it doesn't come out anything like if you put a tiny bit of oil. Canola oil, it's got a high heating point. It's not going to set your kitchen on fire. And you can get the browning of the tofu if you want. You can make it taste like Chinese food. So what I'm doing is I'm putting tofu in there. I just made a video. Check out my channel. I made a video on what I'm doing with this stuff. Heat up the tofu, take it out of the pan, take some Brussels sprouts, put it in a pan, heat it, In fact, my wok is coming soon. I'm going to be making a video on how to cook with the wok. But there's a zillion videos on that. You heat up the Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts has no fat, a lot of fiber, good for your body, it's considered one of the foods that if you want to lose weight, you can almost eat endless amounts of Brussels sprouts because there's nothing in there. I'm using peppers, bell peppers. I didn't know it at the time, but when they plant a pepper, bell pepper, if you pick it early, it's green. If you keep it on there longer, it's yellow. If you keep it on there longer, it's orange. And if you keep it on there until it's the fullest ripe, it's red. The red bell peppers are the healthiest. So you've got tofu, you've got Brussels sprouts, which I said are considered a perfect food if you're losing weight because there's nothing in them. Peppers, next to no weight gain and very healthy. Also lots of fiber. What else am I doing? I'm doing I am putting in onions, not a lot, but the onions, if you use packaged onions from the store, it's not as good as fresh onions, but it's easier. Garlic, I bought garlic in a jar where it's already minced or chopped. It's not as good as, well, I would say it's about the same as if you're going to buy the cloves and mince it yourself. Scallions, scallions or green onions, whatever you want to call it. All of this stuff is next to no calories. The only thing that maybe has a little calories, I'm buying the can of watered chestnuts, which are healthy and low cal, and they make the meal taste good. You run into problems when you start doing the teriyaki sauce, the soy sauce, all those sauces loaded with salt and sugar. But if you're making an enormous amount, and I'm making a lot, now I'm putting in the seasonings, so it makes it easier for me to eat a massive amount of this stuff. And that's how I'm living right now. Canned beans, I used to hate beans. I can eat refried beans. I can take refried beans and put them on, I buy a, what is it called, a whole wheat tortilla. Now the whole wheat tortilla, that's 70 calories. If you do that 3 times a day, that's a lot. That's 210 calories. You got to be really careful because you start doing this stuff with every meal, and now you're talking about more calories than you need. But if you can fit it into your diet, good for you. So I will take a can of refried beans, which is also high in calories and some of that fat, but it's also fiber and it's considered a healthy thing to eat. And you throw that on a burrito. It's no different than going to takeout and getting a bean burrito. And like I started out with, I had gas. I walked all over the place, gas everywhere. I had to go around the corner to empty this stuff out. I was tooting everywhere, all over the place. And I don't know how people who are married can go to a vegan diet, but the body starts to acclimate. So beans on a tortilla. Now, if you talk to a dietitian or a diabetic person, they would say that's not a well-balanced meal. You need to do that, and you've got to have some fruit, and you've got to have some vegetable, and you got to have this. And by the time you do that, you are up to so many calories that you will never lose weight. So it's a balancing act. It's a big balancing act because if you eat properly, you can maintain your weight. But if you're trying to lose weight, you can't really eat properly because you're eating so much stuff. If you cut out 50 calories a day, it's going to take you months to lose weight. So you've got to be really strict with yourself, and you don't want to mess up your health, but you've got to cut way, way back and manage it. So beans on a wheat tortilla, you can get your bean burrito. You can take beans and put some of that fake vegan cheese on the tortilla, and you've got a cheese bean burrito. What else do I do? You can take salads and lots of tomatoes, lots and lots of cherry tomatoes with lettuce, and put some vegan cheese on there. And you don't use the regular dressing. Use red wine vinegar or use a low cal Italian dressing, which gives you some of that oil. And everybody says the healthy oils are the best things. There is no healthy oil. Oil is 100% fat. So even if some of that oil is good for your arteries, it's 100% fat. And so you want to be really careful with the dressings and the seasonings and the sauces. I'm trying to give you a few more ideas of what I do. Okay, I think I'm almost done. The other things that I've been doing lately, if you're a member of the big box store with the C, if you're a member of that, they sell a package of veggie patties. Now that remember, well, just got a message. The difference, vegetarian is not vegan and it's not plant-based. Vegetarian can eat meat and cheese and eggs and dairy and fish. Whereas a vegan doesn't eat any of that, and a plant-based person can eat that in moderation. And so the question is, like with the cheese, well, the cheese isn't really healthy for you. There's not really anything in that fake cheese that's healthy for you, but it allows you to eat something without hating it. There is nothing healthy in the non-dairy ice creams, but maybe once a month you go and you buy a pint of that stuff and you just eat the whole thing at once and you check the scale the next day and you'll see the numbers go way up. And after that, you don't touch the ice cream for a month or longer. You stay away from it. If you're going to do pizza, pizza's got the cheese. If you're going to go to the stores and start eating the takeout pizza, that is dairy. And if you don't care about, if you're okay with eating the cheese and the dairy, you can do it in moderation. But if you keep doing it every week, you're never going to lose your weight. So, and the other thing that you learn is you don't need half the amount of food that you've normally been eating. I will come home from somewhere and sit down and watch TV and say, I want to eat something, but I'm not even hungry. I have no hunger pains. I have no desire for food, but it's just something we learn. You want to eat, you want to eat. And you have to learn that you don't eat. You eat 3 meals a day, and you don't have to do them evenly. Eat when you're hungry, but don't eat these 6 meals a day of little meals, because you're going to start taking in so many calories and you're constantly going to be feeding yourself that the goal is to learn how to stop eating all the junk and to stop needing food in your system. You eat your calories, and like you saw on my scale, it said 1,500 calories. 500 calories a meal, maybe 600 calories, it depends what your diet is. 500 calories, you go to the store and you get the takeout pizza from, the Big C. You get 1 slice of pizza, that's 800 calories for a slice of pizza, not including all the junk that's in it. If you go there and you get their healthy takeout salad, that has got like 60-some grams of carbs. You shouldn't be eating more than about 45 grams of carbs per meal. Again, I am not a doctor. Do your own research on this stuff, but you've got to watch your carbs. Carbs are guaranteed to give you fat. And I know these keto people are going to say, I don't know what I'm talking about, but when you look at the studies, if you're a keto person and you start taking in carbs, not only are you putting your body in with that ketosis or whatever it is, but now you're going to get heart disease because your body cannot deal with both of them. And as I said, when you're eating meat and cheese and fat, even if you're losing the weight, that junk is going into your arteries and you are still at risk for a heart attack or a stroke. Even if you say it works and I'm losing weight, you're at risk of a heart attack or a stroke. So I want to end this thing with, if you want to lose weight, go vegan. I am 90-something% vegan. Like I said, when Mom made some tuna, I went over there, I took a taste of it, I went, okay. Sometimes I'll eat those Beyond Meat burgers. Those are still crawling with lots of calories, and they've got lots of stuff in there that is not good for your body. So be very careful about going on a diet of that, because it is not something that you should be living on. Sometimes maybe I'll put that in a flour tortilla. The whole wheat tortilla, that's 70 calories for the tortilla, plus the stuff in the meat, and then that's it. I know people are going to say, you've got to eat your veggies, and you got to... There's only so much I can do, because if I'm going to do the veggies and the other stuff and eat a balanced diet, I am never going to lose the weight. Now that I've got about maybe 3 or 4 or 5 more pounds, once I get to the point, then I'm going to learn how to balance it out so that I can eat a healthier diet and mix everything. And that's the idea behind the Chinese food now, is that I'm getting my vegan meals, but I'm also eating the peppers and the scallions and the onions and the tofu, which provides me the protein, and I'm getting the, what else am I getting? I'm getting the bean sprouts. So I'm learning that Chinese food is really a really good way to lose weight, as long as you don't do the orange chicken and you got the sauces and the chicken, and then you're in trouble. So I'm going to leave a link in the video description for the scale. I get nothing out of it except if you click on the link, since it's an Amazon affiliate link, it will help me a little bit, help support my channel. But if you don't want to buy that, believe me, I own 2 other fat scales before that, and then I got this scale, and I took the other 2 scales and threw them out. First I thought, why do I have 3 scales? And the other scales were lower technology, didn't give me the info that I needed. This scale is really good. I'm happy with it. Weigh yourself every day. People who don't weigh themselves every day, those are the people that are overweight. People that say, I don't want to do that because it's upsetting, get on that scale every day. You'll learn when you lose weight, you'll learn when you gain weight, and you'll learn what you did the day before that caused it. You will probably stop the belly bloating. Most of the burping that I did, I still burp, but not as disgusting. I have gas at the other side now, and there's just really no way to control that because of the food, the fiber, and just the stuff you're eating. You'll be in the bathroom. When I first started this, I was in the bathroom 6 times a day. I thought, what is this? I used to be in the bathroom once or twice a day. In the bathroom 6 times a day, having a major episode all the time. The body learned how to acclimate to that. Most of the time, I'm not hungry now. As far as vegan, from what I understand, the body does not produce vitamin B12. You are going to need to take a vitamin B12 supplement. I have that here. I don't take it every day. Another side effect is you're going to stand up sometimes and feel a little off balance or maybe dizzy or drained of energy, and that is just what happens with this type of stuff. You're going to need to do the vitamin B12. And what's the other thing? Everybody should do vitamin D3. D as in David 3. Everybody who goes in the hospital, that is one of the first things they'll look at. Everybody is insufficient with vitamin D3. They're dehydrated and their vitamin D3 is low. So you want to supplement with D3. And the other thing most vegans have a problem with is protein. And I know when you're eating the stuff that I was eating, you don't really get a lot of protein. And the way I'm getting around that now is the Chinese food. Tofu has no taste, and it is like $1.98 for a package, loaded with tofu. Women do need to be careful with the tofu. I think they need to be. Do your research. Tofu and estrogen and hot flashes and menopause and breast cancer. You got to be careful with that stuff. Walk away from alcohol. Stop with the beer. Stop with the alcohol. Women who drink alcohol have a higher rate of breast cancer. And it's just dead calories, bad calories. So I'm doing the tofu. The Chinese food has definitely saved me. The scale has definitely saved me. When I go in for my numbers, again, I'm sure the doc is going to be happy that my weight is way, way down. I am assuming, I saw something yesterday that said the average person in America, their cholesterol is about 200, 210, and the average American on a vegan diet, their cholesterol is about 130, 135, 140. So I'm hoping my cholesterol numbers are going to be down. I'm still going to panic. I don't know what the blood pressure numbers are going to be. Hopefully the pulse will be down. Hopefully the PSA prostate stuff will be down. Healthy heart, healthy prostate. That's how I lost weight. Please push this video up. I would love to have this be a couple 100,000 views, 1 million views. It will make my channel wild. It will help people get healthy. But I know if you don't do cool videos on YouTube, like showing that you're eating 30 pounds of chicken wings, or you're cleaning out plumbing, the sewer lines, if you're not cool, you're not going to be famous. I don't care about being famous. I would love to have a successful channel, but if you got through the whole video, and I know on YouTube, the average view time is 2 minutes and 58 seconds. This video is probably 40 minutes. I don't care. If it saved somebody's life, if it stopped somebody from getting prostate cancer, or kept you from having a heart attack or a stroke or becoming pre-diabetic or diabetic, I have accomplished my goal. Please spread the word. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy. Keep that mask on. Take care of yourselves. We're living in some scary, crazy times now. Let's all survive this. Be well.